based on best practices. We're confident that this is the way forward. I understand too that, or my feelings are strong that the Interagency Council is a vehicle to help us do that. It's a way to move forward with regards to having evidence-based, informed public policy relative to assessment and risk management for this population. I know that Senator Brownberger is chair of the Special Commission to Reduce Sex Offense Recidivism, of which I'm a commissioner. We've been introduced to a plethora of information that supports the idea that we want to make our decisions about this population based on the best research, and that this Interagency Council is a way for us to do that. I know that my colleagues and I are also very eager to have an opportunity to inform public policy in this way so that we are in fact making the best decisions. We owe it to survivors, we owe it to victims, we owe it to future potential survivors to do the best we can. I'm thinking about the young woman who testified just a little bit ago and how powerful her story is and how it resonated so deeply in the room. It certainly resonated deeply with me because in addition to being an expert in the field now for 20 years, she was me 30 years ago. Same scenario, actually, I was surprised to hear. Drugged and gang raped and assaulted. I'm trying to think sometimes about why it happens still. And sometimes I think that everything that happened then and everything that happened after, with me pursuing my education, recovery, struggling, becoming an expert, gaining credibility, was because I could be here and sit before you because you have power that I didn't have then, and that she didn't have, and that victims that don't have. To begin to have us think about this issue and make the best decisions we can and do the best work that we can based on what we know, not on our emotional reaction. That's easy. I know this. That's easy to do. We've got to be smarter. And let our emotions drive us forward, absolutely. Outrage, all those things. But let's be smart. This isn't about being right. This isn't about the researchers being smarter than the policymakers. This is about doing what we need to do to stop this and doing it the best way we can. I do think that this is the vehicle that can help us begin to move in that direction.
Really questions for you. So connected that dot. We've been talking about this for a while, and I didn't quite know how you got into it. That's what it's about.
Well, most people don't, because it's still a stigma. So I don't share it that often. But I really feel like this is the moment we have an opportunity that we have not had.
You should share that. It's going to be somehow soon. There's going to be a moment when that's going to be important for people to know where you're from.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Senator Brownsberger, members of the tribune, thank you very much for allowing me to speak today.
I'm sorry to offer my colleagues a chance to ask questions on that last one. I lost track of what it was. Thank you. Good.
No problem. I'm here today in support of Bill H. 1561 to legalize the adult use of marijuana. I just want to say that in this country and across the world, we're in the middle of great change, and Massachusetts has done great things regarding marijuana in 2008, the decriminalization in 2012, the medical passed. Those were both by ballot initiative, and I know Representative Rogers came up earlier and talked about how this would be through the legislative process. And I just wanted to touch on that to say that, as others have said, this is a great opportunity for the legislature to pick this up and kind of look at it. I think that H 1561 is very detailed, and I think it's one of the better written regulatory marijuana adult use things that I've seen in states. So I really think it's a very well thought out, very well written program. I also say I do also support the ballot initiative that is going to appear on the ballot in November, and I know that is been referred to the Joint Committee on the Judiciary as House Bill 3932. So I just want to say I support that as well. And I think that despite what we've come up in our upbringing, hearing about marijuana or having it lumped in with the word drugs in general, I like the point that the former attorney brought up, is that, you know, a lot of people will say sometimes that a lot of the negative things that come from marijuana will be its illegality, and there's a lot of people who can use it in a responsible adult manner. And I mean, we have bars where people consume alcohol reasonably. You know, I can't see why this would be something that could happen, and it's happened in other states. I think Massachusetts really could take advantage of this and be on the right side of history, because medical marijuana there's about, I think it's 23 or 24 states now, and it's a slow process, but a lot of them are jumping on that bandwagon. And I think it's because we are moving into the 21st century, and we realize the real science. You know, if you make this illegal, how are you going to understand its chemical nature or look into it? I mean, there has to be some sort of science behind it. And I think we've moved on from the time period back in the 60s where we were really sure about how this affected the human body or its physiology, and now we're in a century where it's been studied extensively for over 50 years. And my last note is that I know that in Massachusetts it has been illegal since 1911. So I mean, it's been over 100 years where the state has had a prohibition, and we had prohibition of alcohol for about 13 years before we found that it didn't work. So I support this H 1561. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming in and sharing that perspective. Appreciate it. No other questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Michael,
hello, everyone. Glad to be here. My name is Michael Latulip, and I'm the president of the nonprofit corporation Cannabis Society, based out of Ipswich, Massachusetts. I thank you for this opportunity to testify today. I'm here today to support House Bill 1561 and the responsible regulation of the cannabis industry. While the majority of the testimony today will touch on responsible regulation in terms of consumer usage, I wish to bring another perspective, the scientific perspective. Marijuana prohibition in its madness has eliminated humanity's best tool to successfully accomplish deep space missions and colonize other planets. The cannabis plant is indeed one of the best natural fibers, sources of plant protein, and sources of oxygen for deep space missions. Recently, I wrote to the MIT Space Systems Lab, asking them to rerun a new tool they developed to test the feasibility of human spaceflight missions to other planets. The first test they ran was of the Mars 1 mission planned for 2025. They ran the tool with potatoes and rice and suggested the Mars mission would fail. I requested the entire staff at MIT Space Systems Lab to rerun the tool with marijuana as the food source and source of fiber for plastics and concrete, but it fell on deaf ears. I've heard nothing back from them, and I don't expect to. Marijuana prohibition is actually stifling scientific exploration and potentially humanity's chances of going on deep space missions. If the MIT Space Systems Lab won't even respond to me because of their personal prejudices against marijuana, then what kind of science are these institutions conducting? NASA has not responded to me and my repeated requests as well. When personal bias gets in the way of conducting science, we can truly begin to see the extent of the damage done by this ridiculous set of laws here in the Commonwealth. How dare MIT and NASA allow their bigotry to interfere with scientific exploration? How dare we allow this repugnant law to continue to impact humanity's chances of deep space missions and exploring other planets? In conclusion, I fully support House Bill 1561 and the ballot initiative to legalize marijuana because it will impact our chances as a species to colonize other worlds. I will close with a quote from the late physicist Carl Sagan in his book, The Demon-Haunted World. Science is a way to call the bluff of those who only pretend to knowledge. It is bulwark against mysticism, against superstition, against religion misapplied to where it has no business being. And I thank you all for hearing my testimony, and I ask if you guys have any questions.
Questions?
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Rachel Dawes.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Rachel Ramon Donlan. Thank you for allowing me to take part in this process. I don't want to bore you with my whole testimony, so I'll just make a few points. I'm a mother from Boston, Massachusetts, and I didn't speak to my son for 1.5 years because of a false positive on a marijuana test. My clean voluntary history test should have been enough to exonerate and reunite me with my son, but it didn't. I do use cannabis for medical value, but I was not at the time that I was accused.
I could just advise that a roll call now, so you'll see that family, but I'm here.
I am an advocate for people with health concerns, including my own Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. AIDS is a very painful genetic condition. When my son was 4 and I was 25, I was told that my lifespan would be 35 to 40 years. That means I would be expected to die around the time that my son is 14. Then they told me that he inherited the disease too. I also advocate for the children of veterans. I am one. My doctors believe that my complications stem from my father being so heavily exposed by Agent Orange during his time in the demilitarized zone of Vietnam. My spine and jaw were deformed. By age 17, I had spinal fusion and bone graft in my hip. To date, I've had 5 hernias. I constantly break bones. Dislocations are normal. My blood pressure drops and my heart races when I stand up. My blood pools at my feet and my brain thinks that I'm bleeding out. It's very common with AIDS. I'm related to AIDS, but common with children of Vietnam veterans is my allergies to antibiotics. I can't even be vaccinated. At age 35, as predicted, AIDS did try to take me. I had a vertebral artery dissection, and to complicate that further, I had a major stroke. I survived, but not without complications. I'm an activist for citizens, and I lobby in DC and in Boston regarding the issues of labeling of any products manufactured through genetic modification. I have no choice but to do business in Boston on a regular basis. I do not take opiates. Without a safe place to consume my medication, I risk arresting if I medicate. For these reasons and more, I ask you to please consider H1561 to legalize cannabis. I support H1561 and NORML normal in this position of some of these other organizations here today. Please continue this conversation and keep it moving in the right direction. Thank you for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions. And by the way, this is a Virginia hat. It's also known as the Liberty Cap. It represents that the lowest of the people are equal to those at the top of the government. In fact, there's a painting in the White House of people with these caps and the colonists sitting in passive pipe and talking together at Boston Tea Party.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you for the time. Do you have any questions?
I appreciate you coming in. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing the experience.
Thank you.
Eric Ruth.
Thank you, Senator Brownsberger. The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of convenience and comfort, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. That's Martin Luther King. My name is Eric Ruby. I have been a solo practicing pediatrician in Taunton, Massachusetts for 38 years. I am also an active member of the Massachusetts Medical Society. My son has a spinal cord injury and central neuropathic pain, which he is able to control with medicinal marijuana purchased in Connecticut. I am the only pediatrician in the Commonwealth who is registered with the medicinal marijuana program. I've been able to certify pediatric patients with intractable seizures so they may obtain an oil with a combination of CBD and THC to successfully stop their seizures. In other words, I have both personal and professional experience with the successful treatment of neurologic disorders with cannabis products. I am in favor of safety, quality control, mandatory testing, oversight and monitoring, careful safeguards, standards, control and accountability, and personal and public health education. I am not in favor of H1561 as written because it will defeat the very goals it professes to accomplish. On page 30, section 31, the fee structure will force our patients and population back to the black market and end an industry with a potential major lucrative tax revenue for the state. We need to embrace this opportunity, not kill the goose that lays the golden egg. There are 10 reasons for the passage of recreational marijuana, either by legislative ruling or ballot question. Historically, prohibition leads to more harm than good. Prohibition puts the public health at risk. Quality control of marijuana is essential. The Massachusetts Medical Society physicians do not want to be gatekeepers. They have made a mockery of a proved safe and efficacious product that has been in existence for 5,000 years. Fear-mongering is no way to practice medicine. The Massachusetts Medical Marijuana Program is an arduous exercise in frustration for both the physician and the patient. It is expensive, time-consuming, and seemingly deliberately complicated. It is an example of overly conservative rules and regulations, protection and caution. Both proponents and opponents of marijuana agree that more studies are needed. The true villain in this scenario is the federal government, who refuses to reclassify marijuana for research studies. The victims are their own citizens. So instead of randomized controlled studies, we will learn the true benefits and risks of marijuana through crowd searching and crowdsourcing. Marijuana is the drug that Big Farm doesn't want you to know about.
Sir, let me hold you to the time. Would you like to?
I'll submit the rest.
Submit the rest, or?
I have 4 more points.
Would you like to wrap up? That'd be great.
Big Farm, marijuana will allow patients to treat themselves. It will actually cut healthcare costs. Marijuana is an exit drug. It will cure the opioid epidemic and needless suffering and death. marijuana will also prove to be a safer alternative to alcoholism, and legal recreational marijuana will free up our police force to do more meaningful work, and we'll have more money for other things. Finally, the prediction of cannabis sales in the United States is between $4.5 and $6 billion by 2018. Sound regulation of recreational marijuana, like tobacco and alcohol, is a responsible, intelligent, and worthy public health goal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And since it's just me speaking, you got it. Just speaking for myself. I'm all right. Nicole Snow.
Good afternoon, Chairman Brownsberger, members of the committee. My name is Nicole Stone. I'm the Executive Director of the Massachusetts Patient Advocacy Alliance. We're the nonprofit organization that represents medical marijuana patients, advocates, physicians, health organizations, and other stakeholders in the medical marijuana program here in Massachusetts. I'm going to be very brief on this, but I think today's theme is really how policy treats our most vulnerable citizens. And today, I'm here to oppose a few bills that actually apply discriminatory practices to patients that are still waiting for their leaders to take action and move this medical marijuana program forward. Instead, these bills, House 1502, House 1665, 1667, and 1668, put patients at risk. I spent a lot of time talking with patients all over the state, and one of the things that comes up on the daily is discrimination. Patients are looking and trying to figure out where is it best safe for them to consume medical marijuana as a patient. It shouldn't come up. Their status as medical marijuana patients shouldn't come up when landlords are deciding whether or not they're going to house you in their apartment. I don't know where the state of Massachusetts expects patients to consume their medicine. These bills are prohibiting medicine on municipal lands, residential property, school grounds, and then there was another bill in here that actually recriminalizes again and puts students up for potential arrest, and they will be falling down for the rest of their lives because they've got something on their record that doesn't even need to be there. I think instead of taking steps backwards, we should figure out as a Commonwealth how we are going to cure and process medical marijuana patients, and I don't think that we should take a step towards discrimination. I will be submitting official written testimony so that it's not clear that we oppose this bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming in and justifying delivering this citizen service. Jesse Bumba. Jesse, B-U-M-B-A-A. Green Corps. Jonathan Advis.
My name is John Mathis, I'm from Houston. We've heard these statistics earlier today, but there's marijuana arrests every 45 seconds in this country. 700,000 people in 2014 were arrested, 90% for possession. Well, Massachusetts is not in this category because the people voted for decriminalization. The police are still arresting dealers. There's actually a story on 60 Minutes a few weeks ago, but 8 dealers arrested. A college student who sold $80 worth of marijuana. This was in North Dakota. The police, without giving him any warnings, did not arrest him, warned him that he would be facing 130 years in prison if he didn't become a confidential informant. Several weeks later, he was found dead, thrown in a river. Obviously, people can still not buy marijuana in Massachusetts without selling and in danger of being prosecuted. The prohibition of marijuana started after the repeal of the alcohol prohibition. Congress of the United States heard no views against this new laws. The U.S. didn't experience many problems with massive arrest and incarceration until the presidency of Richard Nixon, even though his self-appointed commission recommended changing the direction. This did not happen under the Nixon administration. 4 years later, we still have a majority of people in Massachusetts who voted for decriminalization. A majority voted for medical marijuana. Every April, we celebrate Patriots' Day, the war against British imperialism. We are a state that prides itself on its defense of personal liberty. And this is a question of really personal liberty. I hope that the House would be in favor of Bill H-561. Take the bull by the horns, not wait for the people of Massachusetts who will vote to legalize. Why wait, and why not take action now instead of waiting until after? Thank you.
Thank you for coming in, sir. Thank you for bringing in on this important issue. Appreciate it. Don Corrado.
Is the camera on?
Well, I guess it is. I guess it's the, if you'd like to wait until she's back in the room and see whether if you don't feel comfortable being recorded, you can, wait and have her shut it off. How's that?
Okay.
We'll call you back up as soon as she comes back.
All right.
The shutter is closed.
Okay, right out of the way.
Well, there's one over. It's okay, so she's picking up with audio, she's got video over there. So you are being recorded.
And being recorded.
Yes.
And I will continue to be recorded.
Yes, unless we ask her if she wouldn't mind turning it off.
And here goes. Good afternoon, Joint Committee.
Yeah.
My name is Donna Carrett. I'm the co-editor of the Small Property Owners Association. I have a master's degree in addiction studies and counseling. I've done extensive research in the last couple of years on marijuana and issues around legalization. I'm here to raise concerns about H 1561 and support H 1665 and H 1667 with amendments regarding the growing and any large-scale storage or distribution. I believe that landlords should have a choice in the matter of marijuana being smoked, stored, grown, or distributed on their property. I was told that federal law always trumps state law when the laws are pitted against one another. We can discuss that more.
Yeah, that's a deep one.
Okay, that's what I was told. Any amount of federal illegal drugs could lead to a civil asset forfeiture action against the property owner. Not only that, but back rents have been seized and there are present sentences that any property owner may have to serve for turning a blind eye to federally illegal drugs. Several years ago, I reported on the attempted seizure by the federal government of an elderly Massachusetts couple's motel due to the drug activity of the clients in the motel casual case. I was horrified to see the government had zero regard for the elderly couple, the fact that their retirement funds were part of the hotel, or that Mrs. Caswell had a serious heart condition, or for that matter, that they had never been accused of a crime. The only thing that mattered in the case was federally illegal drugs were used on the property, and the government wanted the money. The Caswell spent $125,000 in legal fees before the Institute for Justice represented them pro bono. The cost would have been $570,000 in legal fees to attempt to prove that the Caswells were innocent owners. After watching that horrifying case for 3 days, I can tell you I'm appalled by any measure that would attempt to force me to run or continue to run to anyone breaking federal laws. When I see pictures of drug busts, generally they are multiple drugs. It's not just one substance, and there are often guns involved. With today's technologies, patients and recreational smokers should be able to enjoy the benefits of marijuana as a private matter without bothering roommates and other people with the smell and smoke. They can use vaporizers, tinctures, ointments, pills, or edibles, but they shouldn't be bothering other people, infringing on their disabilities or their rights to live without marijuana, smoke, and smell. Should recreational marijuana be legalized, most dealers will most likely look to undercut the marijuana shop prices, or if the income does not suit the desired lifestyle, they will add other drugs to the inventory. There will be some reduction in crime.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Can I ask you to wrap up?
Oh, yes, I will. But it's unlikely that most drug dealers will just throw in the towel. Since we did not go to the marijuana tour in Colorado, I've attached an article from Colorado Springs about concerns over many problems of marijuana grow operations in residential housing to my written testimony. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And you submitted written testimony with the.
I have. Of course, I rewrite it as I see it. So I may give you a new draft.
That's fine. You can always do that. We always accept good submissions.
Okay. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mark Jones.
Hi, my name is Mark Jones. I'm the alternate chairman today. Alternate bills. The bill that I'm here primarily to speak about is H 1561, which is to legalize cannabis in the state. I just learned that 1565 was also being heard, so I'll comment briefly on that again. Basically, cannabis is going to be legalized, as others have said. It's going to happen either through this bill, through the CRMLA ballot initiative, the Marijuana Policy Project, through another ballot initiative, or through federal descheduling. Bernie Sanders himself is in favor of descheduling. Who knows, maybe Obama will come around to it before he leaves office. It's going to happen one way or the other. So the question is, who do we want to write our laws in our state? And what should those laws contain? 1561 is the best chance you have to write it to meet our needs and our citizens' needs within the state. Cannabis was originally made illegal through racism and xenophobia in the 8th century.gov. There was a lot of propaganda used to make whites fear use of cannabis by blacks and Mexicans. It worked. We've seen the results of prohibition over the last 100 years for marijuana and all other drugs. They were strengthened in the 1970s when the war on drugs was declared by the Nixon administration. And we see the outcome of those laws. Is every supporter of the war on drugs a racist? Definitely not. Many of you may be supporters of the war on drugs, but probably are not racist. However, the thing is that there is something we cannot turn a blind eye towards, and that is the destruction of minority communities through these laws. The black family has just been decimated by our nation's drug laws. Black men and women, even their children, have been in prison. They've been blocked from seeking work, blocked from getting school loans, all kinds of things. This is not the goals, or should not be the goals of our society and our drug laws. Even still, after decriminalization in Massachusetts, as recently as 2013, still almost 4 times more likely blacks were to be arrested with rights, when the use rates are similar. And nearly every week, we still hear of unarmed black men being shot by police across the U.S. This is because of the drug laws. Should minorities be expendable towards our political goals as a society? I do not believe so. I think it's critically important that this form of systemic racism be stopped, and it can only exist with our support. We withdraw our support, it ends. This is a civil rights issue. This is not about freeing the weed, as some might say out in the comment during the freedom rally. This is a civil rights issue. We know the impact it has on minorities. It must be stopped. Between now and the possibility of the ballot initiative or federal legal scheduling, many more are going to be arrested and have their laws or lives ruined by these laws. The time to act is now. It's not to wait. It's time for you, the legislature, to take leadership on this. It's time for the governor to take leadership on this and just accept the fact that this is reality. People do use in the state, and they will continue to, whether or not the laws are passed. What can be done to help out victims of society through the laws? And I just want to say that this particular one is so critical because of the expensive cost. The other initiative does not have. So I hope that you will consider that. And then the only other thing is, yes, there will be negatives that arise, but it's a trade-off. There are negatives now, as I just spoke of. And you have to decide which ones of those do we want to reduce the most. And some of them can be reduced just through public education, through the law itself, which you have a chance to crack. So I ask you to take that chance and do it as soon as possible. And then the only other thing was about 1565, so this was the one concerning landlords' rights. That law is by itself, there's not a major problem with it I see. I am a medical patient. I currently basically have nowhere that I feel comfortable using my medicine. If I vaporize it, I worry that my landlord will find out. It doesn't matter whether it's outside or inside. This law, as it's currently written, specifically because of 3 words, it says use or smoking. So use, that includes edibles, that includes vaporizing, all kinds of other things that should not impact the landlord or any other residents within the dwelling. And it's that use of or use for that needs to be removed. I'm okay with them banning smoking just as they ban tobacco, as long as they also ban tobacco. But to ban use basically means no edibles, no possession, everything. And that's just way outside of the realm of their justification.
Thank you. Thank you. Board points.
Any questions?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Ready to crawl? Is it right? Ready to crawl? Yep.
My name's Rick Gould. I'm in the medical marijuana business. I've been in it for about 12 years now. I've been in California and back. There's certain real concerns with the state. When the state did medical marijuana and it was passed, it was given to a board to regulate that. That board regulated so that they are the only people that have dispensary licenses. That's concerning. And then when you, even if you are able to move forward, you get to a town level where you're trying to get a dispensary. The step 1 is cultivation, as some people have mentioned before. He who grows it wins. It's all about supply. If you can supply top quality, you'll win no matter it's this state, any state, wherever. And then there's price. If you don't set up a situation where cultivation licenses are easy, people will cultivate in Colorado, or just quite simply, 2-3 dudes will go live in the woods, they'll grow 100 pounds of weed like they've been doing for the past 100 years, and they'll come out and they'll make a shit ton of money, and then go about life like normal. That's how the black market's been done. It's how it will continue to be done until the system's put in place where normal people can have cultivation facilities that can beat them economically. Unless that happens, it's just setting it up for failure. Just like the medallion type system with only 30 dispensaries, you have a situation where, yeah, we can pay millions of dollars for a corporate license where the only ones that can supposedly sell weed. People sell weed long before dispensaries. They're going to sell it long afterwards. And it's not truly a dispensary. It's just a name dispensary where they have a seed-to-sale business model, which a medical marijuana business would never operate on. It doesn't serve the patients, it serves profit.
I'm sorry. What kind of law?
Medical marijuana based.
So you said seed to sale.
They have seed to sale in the state. That's a recreational law from Colorado. And it makes sense recreationally because I'm a company. I want to grow as much weed as I can. and then I want to sell it for the lowest price possible. But a medical business is completely different. What patients need for a medical business is very obscure plants from like Africa that don't yield well. That as a business model, I don't want to grow them because they take longer to harvest. They don't yield as much product. And patients medically, that's what they want. They want these obscure plants that don't yield well. So when you have a seed to sale business model, there's no motivation for me to give them what they want. I'm just going to grow what's in bulk, and I'm going to sell it one way or the other because I'm legally the only person that can sell it. Patients also physically aren't able to get into a store. A point of sale system for delivery service is a necessity, not just for this state, but every state out there has had this happen because we talk about medical patients can't move. They're invalid. They're physically enabled. Some of them have actual caretakers like nurses that help them go to the bathroom. They're not able to make it to a dispensary. They need to have delivery service in place. There are delivery services out there. The question is how white are they going to be and how black are they? It needs to be less gray area and more tax. Without having taxes in the system, you have people that are going about doing the best they can to help people, and it's happening right now as we speak. And they're doing a better job than the dispensary because it wasn't set up on a corrupt model. They're trying to help patients, the patients themselves, but they're not able to pay taxes. And it leaves a legal situation for patients, for consumers, for everyone, where they're left out in the dry. As we move forward to recreational, that's great. It's going to happen. Everyone knows it's going to happen. How it happens also directly depends on if it's going to fail or not. If you have a system set up where if you read the fine print of this bill, this K units, redefining what medical marijuana is, what medical is, creating your own form of measurement doesn't count. It sets the system up for failure. Having recreational marijuana, like this bill says, where you can only sell quarters, halves, and ounces, most guys buy $20, $30 worth of weed. So they're going to go down the street to the dude they've been going to and get $20, $30 worth of weed. If you set the system up for failure, it will fail.
You mentioned the converted. It's, again, overcomplicated regulation.
Yes.
It's one of the things we're gonna deal with. Whatever, however this comes through.
Okay, as long as there is some, I'm just concerned. I actually came today because of the fine print. The fine print on the medical system really kind of shafted me. And I'm nervous that it's going to happen here with the normal legalized.
Well, it's an interesting thing to quote. That was a valid question that was written out.
The one final thing that I don't think any of you are aware of that I'd like to point out is medical marijuana testing, all THC testing, it's with benchmark results. This is very important. If you go down to the store and buy alcohol, if it says 5%, 5%, 5%, it doesn't mean different things depending on the manufacturer. When you go to marijuana, it does. If you get something that says 20% and you go to someone else that says 20%, depends who they got it tested with, because the testing facilities are going off of benchmark testings. What is 0? What is 1? What is 2? And until the state regulates what is 0, what is 1, what is 2, they just go off of the manufacturers of the machinery. And every manufacturer has a different database of results.
Interesting.
So
Okay, well, that's good to know.
it's thank you, I do appreciate your time.
Thanks for having questions. It's important to speak with someone in business. Thank you. Thank you.
Have a good one.
Did you have Sue?
Oh, just one more thing, Justice of the Peace, I thought that was pretty cool. I do support them. I know I talked very briefly.
Michael James, to what? No, next witness. Thank you, sir. Correcting the pronunciation, appreciate it.
No problem. I just wanted to speak off the cuff a little bit as a medical patient. I'm a cardiac medical patient. I am fully supportive of legalization because I had a spinal decompression, a few years ago. They actually pulled out my vertebrae and then tied me back up. Right now, I'm going to ITT, I'm starting to go back to work. I'm starting to have a life. Because of medical cannabis, I was off opiates in 6 months. I have a life. I can walk around. I can do things. It's still a mess out there. I still can't get proper medicine. Doing everything I can. I still can't get it. I also have another big problem. Job retention. They want to test me. I just lost a really great job just because they won't recognize my legal binding card. They won't recognize it. So when they go to piss test actually becoming a drain on the economy versus a productive member of society.
Fair enough, and I think the point that's been made is a pretty deep one, is about the marijuana as an exit drug getting people off. So I think that was your experience.
Yeah, I mean, 6 months. And they wanted me to be on the opiates for a year. Actually, that was recommended by my surgeon.
Really?
Oh, yeah, because the cannabis works so good. You know, I was able to get off of it and have a life, and able to function, and go to school, and to be here today and speak and walk in on my own carport, which, if you had seen me 4 years ago, I could walk. I was in malegislature for crutches. You know, my vertebrae was completely twisted. Yeah, I mean, it was bad. Really bad.
Just to think about it. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you, sir.
Now, I believe we've reached the end of the witness list of those who signed up. Was there anybody else that was intending to testify? Representative Walsh? Well, he's going to miss this opportunity, but we'll hear from him, I'm sure. Beg your pardon?
Can I just say something?
On behalf, what, if you, sure. But don't testify on behalf of Mr. Walsh.
I'm not. He was supposed to testify with me.
Oh, well then please come up. Please come up. We'll try to get you signed up. Please go.
Good afternoon. I'm here on a very different thing than what we've been talking about. It's about grandparents' visitation rights.
Yeah.
And right now, as the law stands now, I have nothing that will support me to go to any court or anything to see my grandchildren. There are other reasons why you can go to court, but if my daughter's family is intact and your children are being well taken care of, I have no legal rights to see my grandchildren, and it has been devastating. I have never seen my 4-year-old granddaughter and my 7-year-old grandson. And I'd like you to add this to the current bill so that I have something to stand on. It says, in the event the child is living with biological parents who are still married to each other, whether or not there's a broken relationship between either or both of them, of the minor and the grandparent, and either or both parents have used their prenatal authority to prohibit a relationship between the child and the grandparent. And psychologists say this is an extreme form of elder abuse and child abuse. And I went through almost a 28-year-old marriage of being abused, and now I'm being abused by my daughter, who won't let me see my grandchildren. And it's just because we have issues with each other. And so if you could just add this to the law, I would have something to stand on so that I can see my grandchildren.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that. And I'm sure we'll be speaking with Representative Walsh as the sponsor of the bill. It's like the other representatives, the reason we have some empty seats up here is because of the House sessions going on. It's forcing me to stay up there. But I'm sure we'll be
This
speaking.
is devastating for me.
I can only imagine.
Totally devastating.
Thank you very much. And thanks for speaking up. Going once, going twice, yes.
I'll just speak quickly. Janet Aldridge Hamilton, and I want to add just a comment on that last bill, because years ago I worked for Missing Children Report, and in Brookline, I had to stop doing this after having a confrontation in Brookline. So many people came up and told me their kids were missing, they haven't seen their grandchildren. It was just, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So this is a very big story, not having grandparents not having, being able to see the grandchildren. It's really an embarrassing family scenario. You've got, maybe family through a divorce, and alienation of affection takes place, and the party, the opposing party, wants to make this, a continual thing down to the point. I don't know how to solve this problem, but I just want to say that this is much bigger than one voice, and I'm sorry this lady had to wait the whole meeting, but it's really a big issue, and I wish there were more people speaking on it. So thank you very much for letting me speak. I'm from Hamilton.
Thank you for raising that up, Dorothy. All right, well, I'm going to act unilaterally here with the absence of any other members of the committee present and as the chair, adjourn the hearing. And I want to thank everybody for coming in.